Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. And we have a very interesting topic up for conversation today. And the focus of our conversation today is on building a case for HR technology. Building a case for HR technology. Our facilitator for tonight is Mr. Akam Patrick Imo Adiasun, and he is the head human capital, okay, with Mixta Africa. I'll read a brief about him so that we can get better acquainted with his profile and background. Okay, Mr. Patrick has worked in many places. He's an experienced business transformation and HR leader, consummate in the area of talent management and organizational development, corporate strategy, and business development. He has proven expertise in integrated talent management, HR analytics, HR information system management, HR labor regulatory compliance, among others. He holds an LLB in law and is currently running an MSc in International Human Resource Management from the prestigious Rome Business School, and also an online executive MBA with Quantic School of Business. Patrick is a senior professional in human resources, SPHRI. He's also an associate member, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. He's a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators of Nigeria and Institute of Administration and Researchers of Nigeria. His experience spans various sectors, including non-profits, real estate, manufacturing, financial services, oil and gas, and public sector. At the moment, he is the head human capital at Mixta Africa PLC, Africa's foremost real estate development company, where he supervises the business operations across 5 countries in Africa, including Nigeria. It is with pleasure that I will want us to receive and welcome Patrick to the platform. Let's show him some love. You have the floor, sir.
All right, Yemi, thank you very much for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here, and this topic really is quite interesting because it's very key today in to deliver. I mean, you can't talk about HR service delivery today without addressing the elephant in the room, being, you know, your technology, HR technology stack. What once upon a time, you know, was a nice to have has become a must have when you look at the current realities in which we find our, you know, business environment today. So I think the crux of this conversation is to help us, you know, navigate the terrain of you know, onboarding HR technology if we haven't done so already, and even if the environment is will continuously to remain in a state of change. And you know, if we need to vary our HR technology, we need to change it. You need to broaden its scope. You know, some of the things we're talking about today will be very key resources, you know, at our disposal if we get to that point in the bridge. All right, so let's just dive into the conversation for today. So this conversation, we can't really go into it without, you know, taking a look back to what brought us here today. And, you know, I would say COVID was that decisive factor that brought us to where we are today. I mean, coming out of, like I said in the introduction, before COVID, you know, investments in technology were just really a nicety or a feather in the hat, more or less. But I mean, COVID, you know, ushered in a new paradigm of where we work, how we work, and how we deliver work. So, and also it brought along EVA, the HR systems and people technology are now competing with other departments. Before COVID, the departments that had a clear business case for technology was finance, all right? Finance, maybe procurement in very large organizations. And it was only very large organizations who had, very huge and geographically dispersed workforce that could, quickly justify the business case for technology. But for most businesses, there wasn't really a strong business case for it, right? But right now, I mean, HR technology has equal merits with any other department that's vying for the technology budget. Businesses now recognize the need to upgrade their systems. So those that had previous systems, you find out that I was one of those, I'd say, lucky HR professionals who I was already fully familiar and hands-on with HR technology before COVID, long before COVID. I'd say years and years, 5, 6, 7 years before COVID, I had already entered and I was already in the HR technology space. And one thing I'll tell you, everyone, for free is, look, the technology space post-COVID is a different ballgame entirely. There's more players. The solutions have evolved at an astronomical rate. All right. So there are many questions that come up. Do you retire those legacy systems? I was involved in situations where the systems that were in use prior to COVID, we had to retire them because they were no longer fit for purpose, more or less. They no longer satisfied the business requirements because the landscape had changed. It was an entirely new game. We couldn't play by the same rules. For some organizations who had some technology that survived that evolution, more or less. I don't want to call out names, but there are some solutions that made the crossover from COVID. But nonetheless, even if your technology solution made that crossover from COVID, then conversations would now need to be centered around how to better utilize and optimize the existing technology. And for most organizations, the conversations were around, how to go about sourcing for new software. All these were brought about, as an aftermath of COVID. And, that brings us to the current state of where we are. We've talked about where we're coming from COVID. Post-COVID, HR has had, it's been three turbulent years post-COVID, okay? And we're dealing with so many things as HR professionals. One of which is, here in Nigeria, adapting to the flexible and full remote working work environments that we have now. The Great Resignation, in Nigeria, the Great Resignation, the Great Relocation, or you just summarize it as the Japa syndrome, all right? And for those of us that did not Japa, that were left behind, we had to deal with quiet quitting, all right? And the employees that remained were just doing enough to get by, they were not going over and above to get things done. They were just doing just enough to get by. And, that's quiet quitting. And of course, very recently in Nigeria, there's been a quantum leap in the cost of living, precipitated by the removal of the subsidy. So that's another crisis we are facing at the moment as HR professionals right now. Cost of living has gone up every day since that fateful announcement was made. I've lost track of how many complaints I get from my colleagues. Oh, the price of coming to it's not easy, price of fuel. I used to fuel my car for X amount. Now I fuel my car for more than double. That's a more than 100% increase in cost of fuel, cost of transport, cost of consumer price index, measured by the cost of goods, consumables, and all these, guess who's guess who is the counselor, who is the emotional punching bag, HR. So all these have been dropped at our doorstep, and these are the monsters we are dealing with today. So, like I like to say sometimes, the rules of the game have changed. So we can't pour old wine, right, in new wine. Is it? Did I get that right? You can't pour new wine in old wineskins. Aha, that's the right way to say it. So what that means is there clearly needs to be a new approach. Okay. Um, Employees are complaining about travel time, commuting costs, and that has just led to a bigger business case for flexible work. It's still in the spotlight, and guess what? Because of the fact that flexible work is in the spotlight, organizations are looking to technology to enable them transit to flexible work and to support flexible work for those organizations that are doing it. Because since employees are no longer physically in the same location, the only way they can get work done, they can collaborate, they can communicate, and they can manage operations is through leveraging on technology. So right now, technology is a critical enabler for supporting the new imperatives of work, okay? And because of this, HR has never needed to be more flexible, more agile. Like I said, the rules of the game have changed. So we need to change our approach to how we play the game. Okay. So this is really the needs of today. How do we go about navigating building a business case for HR technology investments? And I would say this, it is really, really important because twice in my career, two different organizations, I failed at the initial instance in convincing um, the organizations I worked with on the need to invest in technology. Okay, this is, yes, this was some time long before COVID when it became a given. I mean, right now it's almost a given, but this was back in the day where it was 10 times more difficult to convince the business why they should invest in HR technology. Finance technology has been around longer than I know, okay? But for HR technology, I mean, it was then very, very new on the block, and nobody could immediately see the value add that investing in technology for HR was going to bring to the business. And because that was difficult to do then, if I knew the things I know now, it would have been a much smoother ride for me in building the business cases that I needed to do then to sell technology. In fact, it was so funny then, I wasn't even heading the HR function. I was reporting to the head of the HR function. It was so funny then that I had to even convince the head of HR where I was working on the importance and the business case. So my business justification started from convincing the head of, my head of HR way back then. So these are things that would be useful, if you're not there yet, when you get to that bridge. I mean, armed with this knowledge, it will make that journey for you much easier. And one of the first things you need to do is to start with the problem, okay? What business problems will the HR technology solve, okay? That's the first question you need to answer. What's the problem? If it's not solving a problem, then it's just a nice to have. You have an uphill task ahead of you, selling it to all the stakeholders, because there are stakeholders, and decision makers that need to sign off on it. What is it going to cost to the business? Okay, it's not enough to just the case you're making. All right, what is the technology going to cost the business? How is the tech that you have particularly identified going to solve that particular problem? Okay, and so it could be in different ways. Is it going to accrue revenue to the business? Is it going to help the business achieve cost savings or time? If not savings in money, savings in time, savings in your turnaround time, client satisfaction, employee satisfaction. You need to be able to sell it with clearly defined metrics that make sense to the business. Okay, everything needs to be evidenced and rooted in data. This is not an analytics discussion, but if by now you are not savvy enough to, back up your proposition with data, you're just another person with an opinion. As a wise friend of mine once said, a person without data is just another person with an opinion. Okay, so if you're not there selling an opinion, you're selling hard facts. You need to back up your facts with data, historical data, current data, trends, and predictive data. All these will make your business case all the more stronger. And next, you need to answer the question, what happens if we do nothing? Okay, again, this is better off if you have the data to back up whatever proposition you're putting on the table. Okay, your business case needs to be so enveloped in so much value, all right, that you need to be able to say, look, this is the opportunity, not just the cost. Okay, finance, my friends in finance, they are always bothered about the cost. Oh, what's the cost of doing this? What's the cost of doing this? What's the cost of doing this? And there was one time, I was having a banter with my colleague who was head of finance, and I was trying to sell an initiative, and all he kept on saying is, what's the cost to the business? What's the cost to the business? Do you know how I ended that argument? I just said, what's the opportunity cost of not doing this? And when they say what's the cost, they push it to you. Me, I'm a finance person. I deal with numbers. What's the cost? And the last time they said that to me, my response was, oh yeah, you're a finance person. I don't doubt that. I'm an economist as well. What's the opportunity cost of not doing this? And my colleague in finance, that just ended the argument. He busted out into laughter, and that was the end of the apathy. That was the end of the resistance to that initiative, because I was able to let them know that, hey, while you're bickering about the cost of this is what is going to cost the business if we don't do it. Are you sure you want to take on that hidden opportunity cost? So it helps if you give a full picture of the of what this investment is going to cost the business, not just in terms of cost, but the cost of not doing anything about it. Okay, being able to paint that picture would really, really help your business case. All right. Another very important question, where is the money coming from? Okay, it's not going to come out of management's personal pockets. It's not going to come out of your pocket. It helps if you're able to tie the cash somewhere, some budget. Where is this money coming from? And to be able to sell this, it's important that HR needs to have a sense of the cash flow and demonstrate an understanding of any possible funding challenges. Many times when I have the opportunity of speaking with my fellow HR colleagues, I try to impress on them the importance of paying attention. We're not there in management meetings for decoration, okay? We're there to participate and contribute to the discussions. And if nothing, it helps when HR has an idea. If you're HR in any organization and you do not understand the value chain of that organization, you have your work cut out for you. All right. One of the first documents I requested for when I resumed in my current, forget the fact that it's a PLC, so you have our audited financials, readily available to the public. I requested for the current year's financials. How have we been doing? How are we faring? What are our financial targets? What are our operating costs? What's our revenue targets? All these things. it helps you when you know where you understand the cash flow of your business. It helps you read the room to know whether this is the right time to bring up this business case, or maybe you should step it down to when the cash flow of your organization is in a better position to accommodate the budget for your technology investments. All right. I would say this, and I need to say this: technology investments are not cheap. All right. No matter what anybody says to you, it will cost you quite a penny. All right. Although more and more with technology advancements here and there, I also believe with the onset of 5G, um, um, technology become much more easily accessible, and also because it's more easily and readily accessible, you have more players coming into the scene. I believe the law of demand and supply would play in, and I will tell you the truth, the cost of technology has actually come down over the years. All right. Before, I mean, before COVID, um, there were very few indigenous HR tech providers, but right now it's a different story. You have quite a number of indigenous tech providers. So before then, it was more difficult. Whatever tech solution you're buying, you're thinking of how to pay in dollars or foreign currency. But the landscape has changed. Modern technology solutions, they come using the SaaS model, which is software as a service model. Okay, so what that means is you have the opportunity to pay for only what you need. And rather than having to invest in heavy capital outlays for procuring HR technology, you just buy the licenses you need, and then you can pay, on a monthly, as frequently as even on a monthly basis. Okay, you pay if you have 10 employees, you pay for 10 licenses, and you pay, pardon my expression, you pay kobo, on a monthly basis using the software as a service, solution. So that could help you make a stronger business case for your HR technology investments. Next up, we'll also look at how, and I think this is really the most important thing you need to keep at the back of your mind. You must connect it with the strategic imperatives of your business, okay? If you don't want to be looked at as that person who is just talking trash, or, who is selling a pipe dream, you need to be able to link directly, clearly. There must be, as the statisticians would say, direct correlation between the initiative or for tech investment and strategic business outcomes. Okay, who are the stakeholders in your business? Okay, how will your solution help them? Okay, you need to have that conversation, because if you're not able to tie it to their imperatives, it becomes a hard sell. All right, it becomes difficult to sell it because they cannot answer what is in it for them. Okay, just so this HR guy just wants something, and it will look like you're just trying to, add a feather in your hat. So yeah, you need to identify your stakeholders and identify how your HR technology solution is going to positively make life easier for them. Once you're able to sell that to them, look, life will be made easier for you in A, B, C, D, E way. You find out that they become your greatest allies, they become your champions, even though I'll tell you this, the first time I tried to introduce a HR solution way back then, after I sold the idea to my head of HR, it took me a while. Eventually she got to see the need, she approved, and I erroneously went ahead sent out RFPs, and then I got vendors, I shortlisted the vendors, and then I invited them for like a sort of tender board meeting, and you know, the vendors were there presenting, and then I dragged, you know, I brought in, of course, I had to bring other people in the business. I brought in the head of finance, brought in head of procurement, you know, different leaders in the business. And I had not done my homework before then. Of course, they sat in for the meeting, they listened in, and right there and then they said they did not see the business case or the need for that technology solution. And there I was, you know, I was there looking so deflated, all the work I put into it, and there I was, you know, with mud on my face, you know. And of course, it didn't dissuade me, you know, but I learned my lesson the hard way. I made sure, you know, when I was coming around for round two, I did my homework. Okay, I sat down with each of them, sat down with the head of finance, had the conversation. I I heard him out. Okay, he expressed his reservations, and I was able to address all the reservations he had. You know, I went to the head of procurement. Of course, he felt, you know, sidelined, and that didn't go down well with him. Massage egos here and there. And the next time I had my tender board, I had a team that was behind me. All right. So um that is one of the pitfalls that could happen to you if you don't do your homework before embarking on, you know, making this big case for your HR technology investments. All right, so next up, I mean, just in case there are some people here who are new to the HR tech space and they don't even know what they're looking out for. Okay, so we've been hearing so much about HR tech. What are the things to look out for when you want to invest in HR technology? You know, what are the focus areas? So I kind of like simplified, put a snapshot, all the things to look out for that make up a typical HR tech. And in all humility, I've hands-on, you know, handled several HR technology solutions, from the big Microsoft to SAP, you know, to the local, you know, I don't want to, well, I've named some of the international ones, to Seamless, to Human Manager way back then. Yes, you know, I've lost count of how many tech platforms I've used. Okay, down from being a super admin to just being a regular user. All right, so I've seen HR technology in its different shapes and sizes, and there are some common denominators with all of them. Okay, they may come in different names, or yeah, different names, but there's certain things that are common to all of them. Okay, you have your core solutions. The core solutions make up like your employee database, that's your HRS, the human capital management platform itself, you know, that has where you onboard and offboard employees. You know, sometimes it houses your payroll solution, you know, your benefits. Some really advanced ones have benefits administration software there on it, you know. And then you have your talent acquisition, you have your typical applicant tracking system, you know, that helps you track your job applicants, your link to your career portal if you have one. Some also have like interview platforms in there where you could, if for example, you have tons of candidates and you don't want to have to invite them all for interviews at the same time. You have an interview platform, you could just tell them, go here, you have pre-uploaded automated questions that they answer, and then they do a video recording of themselves answering these preset questions. Okay, the typical questions you would ask them in an interview, they just send their pre-recorded answers, and it's there, it's live. They go in there, the questions pop up, they answer the questions, and you get to review the recorded interviews, rather than, you know, having to, and then you can shortlist for that from there, rather than having to invite all of them for for the interviews. It helps if you have a structured interview process. That's, it's going to be a quick sell for you. Employee referral. If you have an employee referral scheme, there are softwares that actually automate and track your employee referral process. And then you have, for people's success, you have standalone solutions. I didn't put LMS in here. If you have a learning management system, you have employee recognition softwares which automate your employee recognition process. Of course, performance management is a given. Some systems have succession planning in there as well. Employee development, okay, your LMS is under employee development. Engagement tools, how do you track? I know some solution providers have tools that are standalone that record real-time employees, your compensation management platforms, and all of these, have like an employee self-service aspect, at the back end, or the front end rather, of most of these platforms. And these are, snapshots of what your HR tech stack should look like. If you are lucky, and that's really the case, okay? If you are lucky, you would have an all-in solution that gives you all these features. If you're lucky and you have the budget for that, that would be awesome. But very few of us were ever that lucky to have everything we need seated in one, in one platform. So, you just make it, you deal with what you have, okay? So, let's get to the details. How do we go about building a HR tech stack that is suitable for you? Bear in mind, there's no one size fits all, okay? I've worked in different organizations, used different technologies, and it was never the same approach. There's no invent and find out what is best suited for you, for your processes along the way. And that brings me to the first point: audit your process. All right, you kick off the process by taking an in-depth look at your existing people, processes, and systems. Okay, your HR process in company A will be different from HR process in company B, and you need to map your processes. Okay. If you have a wonderful standard operating practice document that is up to date and captures your process, all the best, okay? Because what the technology does is to automate whatever process you have in place. And if you don't have a process in place, some of these off-the-shelf solutions have like, process templates, that they benchmarked on the different organizations, which you can adopt and adapt if your processes are not well documented already. Maybe you're a startup or an SME, your processes are flexible. You could use the process workflow in some of these solutions to standardize what you already don't have. But if you have your own processes, it's more useful for you to get a system that is customizable and flexible to accommodate the unique processes of your organization. Now, furthermore, you map out your user experience. So you have two users. You have your internal HR team, okay, as the admin, and then you also have your employees as the also as users. So the user experience has to be satisfactory across all users. So for the HR team, the system has to be easy to use and support the intended use cases. One of the golden rule in any HR, gone are the days. See, back in the days, right? When I was learning HR technology, before HR technology became a thing, you had to pay millions in naira to learn. And it was almost as if you're learning programming, okay? But that's, thank God, is no longer the case. Right now, using your HR technology should be as easy as using Facebook, as easy as using Instagram, as easy as using TikTok, okay? I don't know how many of us needed a manual to be able to use Twitter for the first time. You know, that is the same rule of thumb for your HR technology. It should be intuitive. The user interface should be easy to use. You don't need to have a PhD in computer engineering or whatever, or programming to be able to use your HR technology solution. And some of the old systems, all right, were encumbered with that. And then for your employees, employees expect a technology that has all the aesthetics, is beautifully designed, is intuitive, it has all the eye candy in there, because that's what they see, okay? So the user interface must be off the chart. It must be a wonderful journey. Again, it should also be intuitive for employees. They are not techies, so it should be also as easy as using Facebook, all right? If it's complicated, I can bet you the adoption rates will be very low, all right? Ask about integrations. Like I said, not many of you will be lucky enough to have an all-in-one solution, a one-stop shop that has everything we mentioned in the previous slide, from your employee central to performance management, succession planning, L&D. All of that may not be, you may not be lucky to have that in one solution, okay? So your employee central or your employee database may be resting on one solution. You may be using another solution for your performance management. You may be using another solution entirely for payroll, because of course we know payroll, most of the off-the-shelf solutions do not have payroll, because payroll must be what's the word, localized, okay, to suit our local tax legislations and statutory deductions that are, for the Nigerian environment, as it were. So it's very rare to see an off-the-shelf solution that has payroll that you can use. Most payroll solutions are all locally developed and integrated to the overarching HR tech, your HR tech stack. Okay, so you need to be wary of those solutions that do not have, without going too techy, APIs for integrations with other solutions. Okay, so you need to bear that in mind, that integration, being able to integrate everything. You don't need to have what's that what they call it again? They must be able to integrate to a point where there is a one true source. Okay, one source of truth. Okay, yeah, that's it. One source of truth when it comes to data, employee data, in your tech stack, which everything relies on. So you must feed into that one source of truth and pick from that one source of truth, as it were. And then scalability. Okay, your organization is growing. You don't want your organization to outgrow your tech stack. All right. So your technology must be able to grow. As the number of employees grows, your technology solution must grow. It won't crash later on when you find out you've outgrown it, and then you now need to buy an entirely new one and start the setup process all over again. So these are 4 golden keys that you need. Audit your process, map the experience, ensure that you can integrate it, and then ensure that the system is scalable. And just before you make the buying decision, all right, these are things you must do. So you must consult widely. I just talked about it. There is a big pitfall if you don't do that. Okay. Consult widely, seek buying, finance, IT. IT must be right behind you, because without them, it's not going to work out. Okay. Your operations, if you have corporate services, shared services, everybody must be in on it. Okay. Everyone who has an input or output in this system and the success of your HR tech solution, they need to be in on it. Okay. What are the buying criteria? Okay. There are several technical buying criteria. Reliability. If you do not have technical support, if your vendor is just going to sell you the solution and walk away after selling, please don't buy. Okay. When you buy, what's the after sales support they offer? Do you need to have an SLA with them to ensure that you have post-sales support? Because trust me, success is not going to come overnight. All right, it's a new baby. There will be tons of change management issues, and without technical support, this thing will fall flat on its face. Okay, if you have an existing system in place, how compatible is the system with the existing system? Very important. Speed and ease of implementation. I have been involved in a technology implementation that took 2 years. I kid you not, it took 2 years because the system was so robust. 2 years down the line, we were still implementing. So you must have a clearly defined project plan for how you want to implement this solution. All right. Brand reputation is very key. Okay, you want to buy as much as possible from a trusted brand. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go for a no name. Okay, there are even locally trusted brands. You just need to be able to ask around, oh, who do you know that has used this particular software before? What was their experience like? And if you have positive use cases user cases rather to back up your business case, that's fine. There's one technology partner that I've used before, and then a new client that they were about to onboard, you know, the new client reached out to me and, you know, asked me what my experience was in deploying that particular technology solution and what my experience was working with that technology partner, the implementation partner was. And of course, I had a great experience with the technology solution. And with that implementation, I could stand by, you know, no matter what. So yeah, you need to put all this in mind. And then you need to have the support of your leadership, okay? Getting leadership support, you leverage on your emotional capital, political capital, tactical capital. If you need to have a personal angle, you know, to substantiate your business case with them, you know, do your homework before you get into the meeting with them. Find out what you need to do to get their buy-in, because without their buy-in and support, when the hard times come, which they will, okay, it will be the difference between if you had leadership support or not. I've been told to my face, okay, every technology will have its teething period. I must state this, okay? No matter even if you are going for the Mercedes-Benz of HR technology, okay, you will have the teething process. And the teaching process will be uncomfortable. Employees will complain. They'll complain to you, they'll complain above you, they'll complain below you, they'll complain to anybody that listens. And at that crucial point, if you don't have your leadership support, you'll be the proverbial scapegoat, okay? If you don't want to be the proverbial scapegoat, make sure you do your homework beforehand to ensure that you have the backing and support of your leadership. All right, so in conclusion, all right, very rarely do we get it all the first time, right the first time. If you fail, get up, fail again, and keep failing till you get it right. Secondly, you may not be able to get all of what you need at once, okay? So there's the, what's it called? Land and expand, okay? So land the HR technology first. I remember when I was launching a particular HR technology, it had a robust bouquet of services, right? I couldn't land everything at once. My MD asked me, say, Patrick, what are the most important solutions you need? I started off with 2. Okay, I started with the Employee Central database because, I mean, can't be keeping physical files, all over the place. And payroll. Of course, payroll was a quick win because I told him, I said, sir, you don't give me this payroll solution. You have employees that will be complaining of errors in their salary. How many cases of errors do you want to be dealing with in terms of salary? That was it was a low-hanging fruit. And of course, managing employee central database was very easy to sell. So I landed those two. A year later, I made another business case. Hey, look, our performance management system, we're still doing paper and Excel, sending Excel documents. Let's automate it. We automated that. And, gradually we started scaling up and scaling up and scaling up. Okay. And that has been my experience. That's my experience. That's what my experience has been, really. So in very rare cases, would you be able to land everything you would love to have in one fell swoop? Okay. So just land it, get your feet in the door, and then expand your tech stack from there, grow your tech stack from there. And like I said, it's very important that whatever system you are looking to procure or purchase must be scalable so that as you grow, as your technology, as your appetite grows, the solution is there to fill your appetite, okay? But just get your feet in through the door and, take it up from there. If at all you need any kind of support in deploying your HR technology, feel free to reach out and I'll be glad to support you in any way. Yemi, I think I will be signing off. If you have any questions, I'm happy to treat questions, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. This has been an excellent session. We would like to take maybe 2 or 3 questions and comments. So if you have a quick question, kindly raise your hands and we will enable you to speak. Excellent presentation. That was very robust, comprehensive, and detailed. Many people will wish, for example, that they had listened to this kind of session before their first engagements with their tech vendor. This is very robust and also extremely realistic. I like the fact that you also prepared us that even if you go for the Mercedes-Benz of HR tech, there will be teething problems. And that speaks to having a change management. Patrick, would you speak briefly about change management with respect to either introducing tech for the first time or changing from one tech to another tech? Or you may even want to speak to the two. That would be a question from me on our behalf.
Okay, great. So when you talk about change management, wow, where do I start from? So there's so many examples. I'm spoiled for choice which one to go. So I'll give an example, and this was one of the ways I learned the hard way about change management. One company I worked, that company was 50 years old. So you know that it's not a young organization. It was over 50 years old then. So when you work for an organization that is over 50 years old, we had all the generations of the workforce in the organization at that time. And we introduced HR technology. It was so easy. It may seem so simple, so laughable now. Leave administration. So employees before then, when you want to apply for leave, okay, you come to HR, you collect leave form, you fill the leave form and you submit it in, what's it called? There's duplicate, triplicate, the one that is in 4. What's that called? Is it quadruplets or whatever the word? You submit 4 copies of the leave form, one for the employee, one for his file, one for audits, and the last one, I can't even remember who the last one is. So I think the line manager or something like that. They get a leave certificate, and we introduced a software, we had employees
Hello, sir. Or from Patrick's side. Hello, Patrick.
you want to go on leave, just go online, your line manager approves the leave, you get an email notification, leave certificates. They feel like their job will not be waiting for them by the time they come back from leave. And it was an uphill time. I had employees, especially those in the older demographics of the workforce, screaming at me, Patrick, please give me my leave form, give me my leave certificate. I want my leave certificate. And I'm trying to explain to them that there's no more anything like a leave certificate. But then these are people who all through their careers, they have been getting leave certificates every time they go on leave. So I'll give you one model of managing change, okay? I'm still using that model, even when I introduced my payroll software, the new system run concurrently together, for a pilot phase, okay? Employees will use the what's it called? The employee self-service. Some would request for their leave form. Okay, so we're still printing leave form, still printing leave certificates for like 4 or 5 months, while giving employees opportunity to adapt and come on board the new solution. Okay, so that for me has been my most successful method of managing the change management. Do not do it suddenly. All right. Let both systems coast together. It's more work for the HR team because you are managing both the previous and the new system side by side. So it's more work, but it helps the adjustment to the new system. It helps, the adoption of the new system. Easing smoothly, okay? You're battling resistance all the way for those that are kicking and screaming against, the status to maintain the status quo. All right. There will always be those people that want to maintain the status quo. They ask if it's not broken, why fix it? Okay, but there are people that are more flexible and more willing to adapt to change. And I'm not stereotyping anyone. I'm not saying that younger people are naturally more accepting of change by anyway. No. There have been cases where I had the older and those who were set in their ways were the younger ones. That one hit me as a surprise. So, like I said, in a nutshell, the best change management method is to let both systems run concurrently while you encourage adoption of the new system, and then along the line you announce a cutoff date wherein the old system would no longer be in use anymore. I don't know if that addresses your question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have one more question before we allow Henry unmute and ask his question. Now, I've seen instances where some HR professionals are reluctant or hesitant to introduce HR technology. And the fear is they think if they introduce it, it may lead to a reduction in manpower in the HR team. Maybe they are, for example, a team of 5. They may think, management may say, now that we have tech, you should reduce to 4. What would you say? And what has been your experience with respect to HR manpower when you bring in HR tech? Thank you.
So many people think tech reduces jobs or manpower, as it were. It has in my own experience, it has even been a flip case, because what it does, it changes the job. Okay, you were doing this manually, now it's automated. So it just changes the skill you need to do your job. It has not really changed my manpower or manning requirements as it were, and onboarding HR technology all through. What does happen though is that those who fail to reskill and upskill are the ones that get left behind, but not because they lost their job to technology. No, they failed to continue to have relevant competencies, because in many cases, guess what? New jobs came up. We're doing the same job, but in a new way. And those that were left behind, like I said, are those who failed to upskill and reskill. Okay, so those are the people that found themselves out of a job, not because of technology, but because they failed to adapt, and remain relevant. Hello.
Thank you so much. Henry, you can unmute and ask your questions or make your contributions. And we take closing remarks from Patrick and we call it a wrap. Henry, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Patrick, thank you so much. That's a very wonderful presentation, I must admit. I have two questions. My first question would be, even though I know you've actually shed the light on it, but I would rather want to know, for a healthcare sector, what better approach to use? For example, I have tried to introduce a tech solution for where I work, the health sector, but then every reason I have brought forward to see that yes, this is achievable, the system, the management will keep saying no, it is not important, no, we don't want it, no, it is not important, no, we don't. But now, what better approach would you advise in such case in order to get this to get it a win process, or rather to achieve this process? And then my second question would be, for what tech solution would you advise, best two rather, would you advise for a real estate, like for a group of companies, specifically a real estate firm? Thank you, sir.
Wow. Well, I'm not under the payroll of any technology company, so I'm not going to advertise any particular one. I've used different ones. I've used the Nigerian ones, indigenous ones. I've used the big names. I've used the SAPs, the Microsoft. I've followed Microsoft through their evolution down to Microsoft Talent, from when they were still Navision to when they were used. Gosh, I can't count all of them. And each one has been different. Each one has been completely different. But to give a public recommendation of one, I would say it starts with your business. Okay, so what is suitable for one business will not be necessarily suitable in another context. It depends on several other factors. Your budget, some are more expensive than others. It depends on your processes. Some processes are more complicated, more esoteric, while some, some processes are more direct, straightforward, and less complicated, as the case may be. So I would say out having a full picture of the context and the background, all right? And then to build your business case, yeah, like you said, I'm happy to share the slides afterwards so that we have this information and we can always refresh. You know, if you're not answering the questions for the business case, what is in it for them? What problem are you solving? Many times we look at HR inside out rather than outside in, okay? We talk to business professionals like they are HR professionals. No, because they are not HR professionals, we don't expect them to see things from our perspective. We need to see things from their perspective and speak their language. What business problem will this HR solution solve? Okay, if you can't answer that question, what is the cost of this thing? What is the opportunity cost? What is the cost of not doing it? Okay, how will this particular technology help the business achieve its strategic imperatives? If these 4 questions are not answered, it will be a hard sell. Okay, you need to build your business case. You need to build your cost benefits analysis. You need to build, you know, all these, put all these. You need to now also engage informally, leverage on emotional capital, social capital, whatever you need to do to be able to sell. One of the best, we look, Robert Greene's particulars of power said, appeal, okay? You need to be able to appeal to people's interests. Don't expect them to be empathic or sympathetic to your case, okay? Find out what where their interest lies and how this solution aligns with the interest of the business, the interest of the stakeholders. If not, they will just look at it as a vanity project of HR, which actually is not. I don't know if that addressed your concern, Henry. And if not, maybe we could engage offline and I could give further guidance.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Redmi 9A will take a risk and allow you to ask your question. We hope you're a real person and not AI. Redmi 9A, you can please quickly ask your question. Please tell us your name.
Okay, my name is Omotola. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Mr. Patrick, for this exciting section. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. So my question is, for a company to consider going into HR tech, should it be based on the staff strength or the type of the business the type of business the company do? Should it be based on business type or staff strength, or it should be regardless? I just want the clarification on that.
Yeah, so I would say this, some businesses have specific technology solutions they use. For example, if you are into hospitality, for example, there's a specific technology used for hospitality, all right? Some manufacturing companies have specific technology they use to deliver hospitality, okay? So if you are not in, I know hotels, they have their own specific hotel management softwares that they use. Okay, so their own specific banking ERP solutions they use. All right, so if your organization is not an industry that has those specific solutions meant for the organization in that industry, operating in that industry, you are free to choose an off-the-shelf solution and customize it to suit your own processes. All right. So I don't know if that addresses your question, Redmi.
All right.
Hello.
Thank you so much. I think this
Yes,
is a
by the way, I shared my contacts.
Please drop your contacts on the chat group if you don't mind.
On the
So
chat,
that people
and that's my
who need
WhatsApp. Reach out to me on the chat group. Okay, on the WhatsApp platform, right?
on this chat group.
Okay,
this Zoom link.
I've dropped it. Yes, I dropped it here. I just dropped it now.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick, for availing us of your time, your resources, your wisdom. We do not take this for granted. On behalf of everyone who joined this call tonight and people who will watch it much later at their own convenience, would like to celebrate you. And we pray that God's wisdom and favor will continue to be at your disposal. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you. Warm regards, and please do have a pleasant night's rest. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. We will call it a night. Cheers for now.